Sensei from QS Games here, and today I'm bringing you guys a follow-up video to Quizno's video on his Witch Doctor, and I'm here kind of to show you the other side of what's being played in our videos. So I'm currently playing, for Season 10, a Crusader, and this is kind of going to be the first video. I will make follow-ups to this video showing, like, you know, how my gear has evolved once it finally does, and explaining how I'm playing then versus how I'm playing now. But as of right now, this is how it is. I'm going to be going over a couple things. 1, my gear. 2, my build. 3, my playstyle, its strengths and weaknesses. And 4, of course, how my Kanai's cube is set up. And as well, I'm going to be showing you a Greater Rift, just to give you an idea of not only how it plays on paper, but just to sort of see how it plays. So let's get started. We'll start with my gear, which will sort of give a preface to my skill setup here. So basically what this is I'm dipping into 2 different sets. I'm dipping into Roland's Legacy. I'm going up to the 4 set, so I get 2 set for this is my Shield Bash and Sweep Attack. I'm not using Sweep Attack, so my Shield Bash reduces the cooldowns of my Laws and Defensive by 1 second. That is Laws of Valor and Iron Skin. So every time I Shield Bash, which is all the fucking time, I'm getting a cooldown reduction on Iron Skin, which is pretty much my most powerful defensive ability. 4 set, my Shield Bash deals 2500% increased damage. This is sort of the crux of this build and is what allows me to kill things. Second set I'm dipping into is Armor of Archon. 2 set of this reduces the cost of all abilities by half when Akarat's Champion is active. Awesome for spamming Shield Bash. And the 4 set is reduces the cooldown of that Akarat's Champion by half. Allows me to get more Shield Bashes off and allows me to stay alive longer, and I will explain how. I am missing out on the 6 set of each. Would be nice to have that 600% increased damage, but I think it's more worthwhile to dip into both, and of course, it also would be nice to have that 50% increased attack speed that's stacked up to 5 times, but yeah. Gemming, cooldown reduction helmet, strength and everything else. Legendary gems, I am doing Bane of the Powerful, rank 25, 20% increased damage for 55 seconds whenever I kill an elite pack. That's what it is right now, before any more upgrades, and also 50% increased damage versus elites and 50% less damage from elites. And I'm also using the Swiftness gem, which gives me attack speed passively and dodge passively. Stacks up to 15 times, kind of makes up for not having the 6 set for Roland's. And once I get the 25 rank of that, which I will after this Rift, very important, I'm going to be getting cooldown reduction, which is awesome for all of these abilities. Other gear I'm using is Thunder God's Vigor. Blocking, dodging, or being hit, causing me to pulse free damage to nearby enemies. My Shield Bash, when it strikes 3 or fewer enemies, deals 346% increased damage, and a quarter of its wrath cost is refunded. This makes it a very powerful tool to kill Rift Guardians and single target out mobs with. My other ring I'm using here, of course, Ring of Royal Grandeur, which allows me to dip into both 4 sets. Very important. My shield here, not the most optimal shield in the world, but every successful block has a 22% chance to reduce all cooldowns by 1 second. That's good, but again, it's not optimal. Yeah, looking to replace this. And my weapon, of course, is pretty awesome. Ancient Legendary, Baleful Remnant. Enemies killed while Akarat's Champion is active turn into flanked avatars for 10 seconds. That's awesome. Makes doing really big pulls worthwhile. And I'm gemming crit damage for it. Really just overall an awesome weapon. I got super lucky getting this. It helps so much. Shield Bash scales really well off of weapon damage, which is why you want to be using a 2-hander with it. So this helps a lot, especially since it's ancient. So that is the gear setup, and that's how it synergizes with certain things. And now I want to get into what my build is and why. So for my left click, I'm using Punish with the Roar rune. Now, not that that matters, because in my Kanai's cube, I have this. Punish gains the effect of every rune. But yeah, that's the main reason I'm using Punish. If once I get something to replace that, something I deem efficient, to replace it with, I'm probably going to be swapping out Punish for Provoke. Where's Provoke? Provoke here. Every 20 seconds, which is going to be shorter since I'm building for cooldown reduction, I can generate 30 Wrath and Taunt shit, which is useful in group play. As of right now, I'm using Punish with every rune. Gives me extra damage, attack speed, a critical hit, all that type of stuff. Nice little bonus. It also allows me to generate Wrath. Of course, my right click is Shield Bash, kind of what this build is based around. Using the Crumble rune. None of the other runes are really good, in my opinion. You could use Pound, but Crumble just scales better and allows you to hit more mobs. I think it's like a 20% more weapon damage that makes it scale with, something like that. None of these are really as good. They all sort of pale in comparison to Crumble. Of course, on my number one, I'm using Akarat's Champion with the one and only Prophet rune. None of the other ones, again, are really that good, because in greater rifts, high-level greater rifts, when shit can just sort of one-shot you, you need this. What it does is it gives you increased armor, which is more survivability, and it gives you another second life. So whenever you take fatal damage while Akarat's Champion is active, you'll be returned to full health. That stacks with your indestructible as a Crusader, which I will get into. Very, very awesome rune, very awesome ability, vital to any Crusader build, in my opinion. For number two, I'm using Steed Charge with the Endurance rune. These Steed Charge runes are kind of crap. Again, aside from Endurance, it's just a flat increased duration. Nobody is really using Steed Charge to deal some damage. I mean, maybe Drawing Quarter is good because it pulls enemies in, but then you can just use Condemn, Recover Life. It's crap. These are crap. Endurance, there's a reason Endurance has such a high pick rate. You're using Steed Charge to get around, to pull mobs, and group them up. More duration on that allows you to get around quicker, beat that timer in GRs quicker, get around bounties quicker, whatever you're doing, use this. Always. Next up, for my Law, I'm using Valor. Laws of Valor, again, just over Justice or Hope, because when you're using a two-hander, the main drawback, aside from 20% reduced damage, is, of course, that attack speed. When you use Laws of Valor, you get the attack speed increase, and then when you activate it, you can pretty much attack as fast as a one-hander, which sort of remedies that. So you get the weapon damage scaling with Shield Bash, but the attack speed of a one-hander, which is awesome. And this is up pretty much all the time due to my two-set on Roland's. So as you can see here, I use it and then just Shield Bash a bit. See Iron Skin as well. Every time I Shield Bash, cooldown goes down by a second. Very useful. And for the rune on that, I'm using Critical. Pretty much, again, in my opinion, the only worthwhile rune for this. What it does, basically, whenever you activate it, you gain more critical hit damage. Shield Bash critical hits are really awesome. They hit really hard. And, yeah, it makes it even more useful in group play as well, because you can buff other people's critical hit, and critical hit is very useful in Diablo 3. And for my number 4, I'm using Iron Skin, another very commonly used ability. What it does, it's just a flat 50% damage reduction. And Steel Skin just simply increases the duration of it to, I believe, 7 seconds? Yeah, 7 seconds. It's on a 30-second cooldown by default, but realistically it's only going to be on a 10 to 15-second cooldown with my 2-set. So you can have a 50% damage reduction up at like 70% of the time. Very good. Take that for this build, because especially with Shield Bash, you're going to be in the thick of things, Shield Bashing things, getting hit, blocking things. You don't want to get one-shotted. Alright, so for my passives, I'm running these for Holy Cause, Heavenly Strength, Finery, and Indestructible. Heavenly Cause, Heavenly Strength is the one that allows you to use two-hander and a shield. Pretty much mandatory. You have to take this. Finery, another one that is just insane. 1.5% strength for every gem socketed. That's amazing. Strength is overall your best stat, of course. I don't know why you wouldn't want this. It's just, there is no real reason not to have this. And Instructable, another must-have for high-level GR play. I mean, basically what it allows you to do is to just, when you take fatal damage, you can just keep fighting for a few seconds, and hopefully either finish off your enemy or get you time to get away. This is what prevents you most of the time, in addition to the second life from Akarat's Champion. This is what allows Crusaders to be so durable. Now, the one that you can kind of wiggle it around is Holy Cause. 10% increased weapon damage, which is good. Stacks well with my Crumble rune. But you can also swap that out for something a little more geared towards survivability or mobility. So my three favorites are either Holy Cause. You can do Wrathful if you're gearing more towards survivability. Each point of Wrath spent heals you for a decent amount of life, and health globes are increased. This is the more defensive one. This is the more offensive one. Or you can even go Lord Commander. 25% less cooldown on Steed Charge. Great for mobility, and 20% more damage on flanks, which synergizes well with the Baleful Remnant passive, if you have it. But yeah, that is the setup here. Could do some moving around of runes and abilities. Definitely would swap out Punish for Provoke once I get something to replace that. Punish gains the effect of every rune, but for now it's what I'm using. Next, in Kanai's Cube, we have, for weapon, I was lucky enough to get the Furnace. 50% more damage against elites. Awesome. Don't know why you wouldn't want this. Very sought after for pretty much all types of play. There really isn't, in my opinion, there really isn't anything better. Aside from maybe, if I can find it, where is it? I think it's, there's a mace in here. Here it is. Johanna's Argument is a very, very good mace to, or flail, sorry, to have cubed in here for the Blessed Hammer build, which goes with the hammer, the Mountain of the Light set or something. Forget what it's called. But this goes with that, and that is actually the set that I'm going for in the end game. This is the build I'm using right now, sort of to use until I get Blessed Hammer set, because that is my favorite build to be using, but right now this is what I'm rolling with. So the Furnace. In my second slot, I have Angel Hair Braid. Punish gains the effect of every rune. This is what I'm comfortable with right now. There are some other ones that I could be cubing. Now also here is Gabriel's Vambraces. Going to be using this once I get my Blessed Hammer. But yeah, some decent ones you can be using. You can maybe use Sanguinary Vambraces for that extra Thorns damage, but right now I'm using this one. And for the ring, another vital piece of this build for me is Obsidian Ring. Reduced remaining cooldown of one random skill by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. From my experience, that hit scales with however many enemies I'm hitting with my Shield Bash. So when I'm playing with Quizno, for example, and he uses Piranhas to group up a billion enemies over here, and I Shield Bash all of them, that is, 10 chances to reset that cooldown of whatever. The ability it resets is also, random, of course, but a 10-second cooldown reduction spread over 4 abilities is insane. I believe it works that way, and I've kind of seen it works that way, unless I'm crazy. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but even if it doesn't work that way, that is awesome. It works really well with the 2 set. I mean, yeah, it works really well with the 2 set from Roland's. Synergizes very well with that. So, for example, if I use Iron Skin, if I'm hitting a bunch of enemies, this very well can proc every Shield Bash at a time, a 3-second, a 4-second, 5-second cooldown reduction on Iron Skin, and by the time Iron Skin runs out, I can have it back up. Or even sometimes, I can have Akarat's Champion back up while it's still active, so it just doesn't ever fall off sometimes, depending on how nicely the Rift is going. So yeah, that is the way that is set up. First, before I get into the greater rifts, I do want to have a disclaimer. Strength of this build, very strong, number one, with small small to medium-sized pulse. It is extremely powerful on single target due to Dracon's Lesson, as well as the two-hander having very high weapon damage with the Crumble Rune. Very strong. You can spam Shield Bash on a single target, and it really won't cost any wrath. You can just spam it on a Rift Guardian over and over, and it'll just die in 2 seconds. Strong on single target. Very strong on medium-sized pulls. 5 to 10 enemies, maybe. Very strong. Group them up. But where it does sort of start to get weak is its reliance on cooldowns. If you don't have Iron Skin up, if you don't have Akretch Champion up, you don't have a Steed Charge to get out of, a fight that may have not gone so well, you're gonna die. You're just gonna get one-shotted. If your Indestructible isn't up, which a lot of the times it's not, you're just gonna die. There are a lot of moments with this build, hopefully it doesn't happen in the Rift, where you'll just walk into a room and you'll just get destroyed because there's like some green shit on the ground or something. It's not fun to have that happen. So yeah, cooldown reliance is sort of a weakness of this build, but it's also a strength in a way. It's really fun, definitely, to see all of your cooldowns just sort of go down, or you'll have Iron Skin active and it'll be ready before it expires, or you'll have Steed Charge up for like 15 whole seconds, or something nuts like that. But yeah, just do, keep that in mind when you're running this sort of build or some sort of variation on it. Also works much better in group play than it does in solo play. You can make it work in solo play, but it's definitely a lot more useful when you have someone grouping up the mobs for you, with something like Piranhas from a Witch Doctor, or maybe even if I was running Punish, was not running Punish, instead I was running Provoke. Provoke definitely makes it a lot easier in solo play, so if you are playing this solo, I would choose to run Provoke unless you have this Angel Hair Braid. Provoke overall, though, requires a lot more thought to use because it has a cooldown, and you can waste Wrath generation if your Wrath is too high and stuff like that. But yeah, just be aware that it is not as strong in solo play, and its defensives are kind of weak outside of cooldowns, and you're always up in the thick of things, so you can just get destroyed. Finally, also, it is sort of weak in larger pulls. Your Shield Bash only hits in one direction, unlike Blessed Hammer, which spins around you. You just need to be aware of your positioning, be aware of what you're hitting. I definitely recommend having health bars on to sort of decide what direction you want to swing the Shield Bash. But yeah, that's kind of it for that. I'll stop talking now, and I'll just do a Greater Rift, probably Greater Rift 40 we'll start off with, just to give an exhibition of this. And yeah, let's just get into that now, and I'll be back after. there were some hiccups, like me getting lost like an idiot, and I did die a couple of times, but it just goes to show you, how this build sort of performs. I could have definitely played better. If you really tried, you could make this probably work a little bit better. Just some things I need to fine tune with it until I finish off the Secret of the Light set, which allows me to go back to Falling Sword and Blessed Hammer. But right now, this is what I got. So, yeah. I'll make an update video sometime in the future, as will Quizno, and we'll sort of go into, what has changed since then. So expect some more videos from us in the very near future. We're trying to sort of get ourselves established here. If you have any suggestions, feedback, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And please stay subscribed for notifications on when we upload new stuff. And be sure to like and comment. Thank you guys for watching.